Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second edition of the WTW PodCast. I'm your host, the X Factor Jackson Hendrix, and we have a very special guest today, the BWE champion, Seth Maverick. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So, you're undefeated in 2016. Now, how do you feel about that?
Wait, say that again.
I say you're undefeated in 2016. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel pretty good. I feel like nobody can stop me right now, and I don't think anybody will stop me this year.
It's a very good point. Now, you defeated one of the biggest names in backyard wrestling in Tyler Storm at Carolina Clash. You want to elaborate on that?
Say that last part again.
I said you defeated one of the biggest names in BYW in Tyler Storm. You want to elaborate on that win?
Well, the win, it was awesome. I never thought that, I'd do that. But Tyler Storm has just been in the biggest slump as of late. And he just couldn't pull off the win. And I felt pretty happy about it. Definitely the biggest win in my career. And, I mean, like I said, I was excited until the end when PorkChop attacked me, and all things set aside, me and PorkChop will settle our differences here soon. That's a promise.
When the match was announced, for Carolina Clash, when all the matches were announced, I was really shocked to see because when you see Ecstatic and PorkChop, I mean they're both great competitors, but they really tore it down. They did amazing, and then so did Joseph, and then you and Tyler in the main event. Now I kind of predicted you to win, just kind of by the way everything was going. I was actually pretty happy to see one of the guys from my generation and some of the older generation that I can go over. But now let's beginning with you. Where does backyard wrestling start for you?
Where does backyard wrestling start for me?
Yeah.
So, where did it start?
Yeah,
when did I start it?
Yeah, what made you want to start BWE?
When did I start it?
Yeah.
On February 28th, 2014, me and a few friends got together. We wrestled on trampoline. It's the worst thing ever. I'm not gonna lie. It was bad, real bad. And the first person to actually comment on our videos was WTW. So I've known the WTW guys since 2014. So I've known them for a long time. And believe it or not, we said one day we're gonna get together and we're gonna do this crossover. We're gonna do a crossover one day. And I was sitting there thinking, this is never going to happen. I'm never going to meet Tyler Storm or Ecstatic or any of that. Somehow it did. But back to the point. We just got together one day, February 20, 2014. Got together, wrestled, uploaded it. and then I made this promo that night. As a character that's no longer in BWE, and I never want to bring it up ever again. And it was honestly the worst thing ever. And I would never talk about that ever again. But that's how BWE started. And then we just did it week after week after week. And eventually we got caught onto it. And there's been ups and downs. And obviously we're at the biggest down of all right now. But me and PorkChop are still going strong. And we're gonna still go strong for you fans.
Hell yeah! Now I would love to come work with you guys. I know your roster is pretty thin right now. I mean, but since I'm in Kansas and you're in North Carolina, it's kind of hard. But I'm gonna try to go down in North Carolina in May. It's Junior's time to see my brother. But so hopefully, if that can happen. But now I actually first heard your name from Chase Bridges' Twitter because I saw his location. It was Seth Maverick's mom's. So I searched you and I found BWB's channel, and then I watched. I think I haven't seen the very beginning of BWE. I've just seen more of the recent months, but I definitely enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, let's not talk about Chase Bridges. Oh man, yeah.
Now let's do a little segment that I'm going to start doing on every WTW podcast. I'm going to give you a backyard wrestler's name, and I want you to say what kind of match you'd like to face them in. All right. Jason Walker.
What type of match? Man, I honestly would just say normal match for that one. Jason Walker's a normal match. I don't think you need a stipulation for that, to be honest. So,
good point. UWE's Everett Creed.
Hair versus hair. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
And
I like that. I like to see that.
BTW's Drew Hood.
Drew Hood. I don't know why, but I'd say a ladder match, just because Drew has been he's been shading toward me for a little bit, so there could be something coming soon for me and him, something soon.
Now, what'd you think? Of,
I'll cost me too.
I think it was a Theory when he faced Kevin Shaw when he held up the replica BWE championship and kind of mocked you. What'd you think of that?
Honestly, nobody can really talk because I'm not the only company, I'm not the only champion who has a quote-unquote fake title.
Yeah.
We're just on a low budget right now. Obviously, I'm general manager, and it's hard to, get some money right now because BWE's in a slump. And I know people are going to sit there and say I'm the worst GM ever, but I'm not, so don't say that.
I saw that and I was like, Drew Hood, Seth Maverick, that could be interesting. Well, since Chase couldn't join, he's going to be the other half of since he couldn't join on this live call, he's going to be the other kind of co-host of this podcast. So, Chase, do you have any questions for Seth Maverick?
Yeah, backyard wrestler, I just wanted to ask you, like how is it, when other, people you wrestle with, they make a mistake and stuff, and, I know, because sometimes there's mistakes that happen, and how does it feel for you, if you get injured or whatever? How often does that happen for you?
To get injured?
Yeah, is everyone you wrestle with pretty smooth, or?
Oh, Lord. I get injured probably every match. I'm not gonna lie.
A lot too, so I understand.
If you've known me since I've started, I've had the worst problem with my knees. I actually dislocated my knee during a match as one of my side characters, Alto, and it filmed it, and it's nasty. If you want to see a dislocated, if you want to see my knee on the right side, go ahead and watch that. It's painful, and I've had problems with my hamstring for the past few weeks, so I'm not able to wrestle at the moment. And I've hurt my ankle, sprained my wrist, sprained my knee, dislocated my knee.
Damn.
I've done it all. Yeah, and I've gotten a concussion. So I've done it all pretty much.
So speaking of working with people and getting injured, who would you say your favorite person is that you've ever worked with?
I'm gonna be dead honest, PorkChop. Dead honest. I don't know why, but I trained him. I helped him pull off the moonsault somehow.
That was badass, no doubt. I was not expecting that.
It was hard for him to pull off, but I worked with him and he got it done. I helped him pull off senton, front flip. I helped him pull that off. So it's just easy to work with him, knowing that I know his moveset because I obviously helped him make it. So It's just easier to work with him because I did that. So it feels pretty good to work with him.
For sure. And are you two, like I said earlier, I know BWE's roster is pretty thin right now. Are you two the only current wrestlers, or how is that going?
Can you say that again?
I said,
What's up now?
I know BWE's roster's thin right now. So are you and PorkChop the only two wrestlers right now, like currently?
Yeah. We're the only two, but we are trying to make it happen. We're just trying to, get other companies involved, and we're just trying to keep going. We're never going to stop this. We're never going to stop for a long, long time. It's just a matter of time before, it stops. And I'm not stopping for multiple years. I'll be here for a few more years. So no worries about me leaving anytime soon. But and same with PorkChop. He loves to do this. And but yeah, if you want to wrestle us, BWE right here.
Me and Jackson can both kind of understand where you're coming from with that too. Like we have the guys and everything. It's just some weekends, like multiple weekends in a row, it's been just me and him going up and working.
And like I could probably feel how at school, like if you try to like get people to do BYW, they're kind of like, oh, it's fake wrestling, it's stupid, it's dumb, and then they're like, oh, it's so easy, and then when you try to get them to do it, and then when they actually try to do it, they're going off.
Yeah, nobody here doesn't likes wrestling that much, and everybody at PorkChop school, because him and I go to different schools. Everybody at PorkChop school calls him PorkChop, and they just don't want to do it. They'll watch, but they just don't want to do it. So it's hard.
It's actually similar to some of the WTW guys, because like me, Jackson Hendrix, you can really call me that. It's basically my real name, but like me, T-Man, I know you watch WTW, people give him shit at school all the time, so I bet he knows how PorkChop feels on that. Now, out of your top, you've been in many matches, but out of your pick your top 3 matches that you've ever been involved in. Like it can be from any time frame. It doesn't have to be fun.
I don't want to put them in order because I really don't have an order. I'd have to think a lot about the order. But just 3 favorite matches that I've been in. One has to be Go Bear Go Home. It was me and PorkChop. First time we ever faced off in the ring, Seth Maverick and PorkChop, and we killed it. And that's just one of my favorite matches to be in. Another one, surprisingly, we had a former superstar named what was his name? Something. Why can't I not remember his name? Rico Reed. Rico Reed. I don't know why I can't remember it. Rico Reed and me at Crucifixion 2014. It was me and him, and if I lost, I was no longer the general manager of BWE, and he won it. And if I won, he was fired. And we went on for about half an hour in that match. I don't know why. I was just having so much fun in that match. It was probably a terrible match. I don't care. It was just a fun match. It was just fun, and I enjoyed it. So that's another one of my favorite matches. Another one. I like me and Tyler Storm. It's honestly hard to choose between me and Joseph because the first time me and Joseph faced off, really enjoyed, and me and Tyler. So it's hard. I'd say it's a tie between those two. It's hard to decide between those two. Me and Tyler or me and Joseph at Extravaganza, but one of those definitely enjoyed both of them. Great guys to work with. Great guys.
For sure. Now, how like the VTW's they're like on the top of BYW. They're one of the top companies for sure. But how did it feel to be able to work with some of VTW's guys?
It felt awesome, and they definitely helped us a lot. It's about 1 a.m, and Nick is sitting over here, and he says, "All right, guys, let's go outside to the ring." And we're sitting there looking at him like, "What?" And he's like, "We're gonna go out there and practice right now." And so we all go out there, pitch dark out, pitch dark, and we're sitting in there practicing for the next day. And me, Tyler, and Joseph didn't get to bed till 3 in the morning, and we woke up at 7 that morning, so we only got 4 hours of sleep. Nick and Joseph, however, go to bed at about 1. And here's the funniest thing ever. The next day, PorkChop and Nick take naps during the show, and me, Tyler, and Joseph are up the entire time. It doesn't make sense. They get more sleep than us, and they took naps. Obviously, PorkChop fell asleep outside. That's how tired he was during the Mephisto and Joseph match. If you watched Carolina Clash, you would have saw that he was asleep out there. And I don't know if you saw that. PorkChop was the only fan, and he falls asleep. There's just moments, though, that make it, but awesome experience to work with WTW. Definitely helped us, and definitely fun time to film Carolina Clash and fun weekend.
It was definitely a great show, that's for sure. I was waiting for the live stream, and I actually had a shitload of homework that night, and then Carolina Clash came on. I was like, let's be real, I'm not actually going to do this. So I just kind of watched Carolina Clash and then just kind of ditched the rest of the shit I had to do. You just elaborated on cross-branding with VTW. Now, what are some guys that you want to cross-brand with that you haven't had the opportunity to do so?
Like as a company, or me face?
You personally, like you facing them.
One guy, Zach Daniels. I don't know. It's just we've got that style, sorta. He's got the high flying, style, and I sort of high flying. I'll get high flying once in a while. Yeah, I can do a lot of high flying moves. I just don't incorporate them into my moveset, frankly, because I don't want to be looked at as a high flyer, because I feel like there's so many of those in backyard wrestling now. Just don't want to be one.
Yeah.
So I try to do sort of some power moves in a way, some of those, and I'll incorporate a drop kick or two, once in a while. Because I love hitting those drop kicks. But definitely Zach Daniels. Another one is Ecstatic. Me and him definitely want to face each other. PorkChop said it was amazing to work with Ecstatic, and I really want to work with him as well. And another one, I'm gonna say Corey Graves. After the show we put on at WrestleCon, I really want to work with him now. Those are just a few guys out there.
All great competitors, that's for sure. Now, looks like Chase, we lost Chase, but now if you couldn't wrestle for BWE for some reason, what other company do you think would do with the best if you had to go wrestle for someone else?
Definitely, this is just the most realistic choice. BTW. They're only like 2 hours from here. Quick drive, and I mean, they're awesome guys. That'd be the obvious choice. And I'm sort of like on their bucket list in a way, for later on to work with in BTW, and PorkChop. So you'll probably see us in BTW one day, most likely. And for some reason, I just feel like me and PorkChop should make a tag team because we've been working on tag teams. But don't ask why, because obviously it's nowhere near the future that's going to happen yet. as a tag team, but I don't know. I just want to work with, BTW. That's probably the most realistic choice, or possibly CCW, but they are ending this summer, so that kind of sucks. And me and PorkChop are trying to get to Glory Days, the final Glory Days this summer. We're trying to make the trip down there this summer to watch it.
Now,
Speaking awesome.
Speaking of CCW ending, and they're kind of one of the older ones, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be like the top companies after companies like VTW, UWE, APW, BEW, and all them leave? Who do you see stepping up to the plate?
Well, hopefully us. Hopefully us. Definitely you guys. The first match I saw from you guys was you. I think it was King Crunch. I think you were facing. Not 100% sure.
Probably.
And I watched that, and I just I saw your style, and I'm like, this kid's got it. This kid has got it. He's got to work on a couple, things, just a couple spots here and there, but he's definitely got this. And, I was sitting there thinking, and I was clapping a lot during the match, and I was like, these guys are definitely going to be something big. And I still have that word to you guys. So,
man, and plus, we're like the top two companies someday. Who knows? Maybe there could be a cross-branding show. I can find my way down to North Carolina. Now, I went down to North Carolina in June of 2015, but that's before I was doing backyard wrestling, and I wish I would have been doing backyard wrestling because then there would have been so many more opportunities to work with people then. But
oh yeah, summer of 20. Oh Lord, I don't even want to bring up that summer.
Now,
oh my God.
Jeez.
Ooh, that was a fun summer.
Now, when it comes to speaking of crossovers, when it comes to crossover shows like Best in the Yard in 2015 and Best in the Yard 2 this year and WrestleCon, would you have liked to have been a part of those? And how did you feel about not being able to be a part of Best in the Yard and WrestleCon and Chase's joined us back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Well, I was originally gonna be on Best in the Yard 1. Like VTW said, could you come? And I said, I can't get a ride. So I was like, man, this sucks. And I just sat there sad and, I'm striving for this year to go because I really want to experience it. And I was so sad when I couldn't get a ride to go to Best in the Yard 1. I was so sad. You don't know how sad I was. It's so sad, and I was just sitting there thinking, man, if I could experience that. And then, this year, I'm really hoping to go this year. Really want to go this year.
Sure.
Well, I have a match, though, is the question. I'll have to find out. Will Seth Maverick get a match for Best in the Yard? I got a few things going on with some people backyard wrestling right now, some unsolved business. Could happen, but definitely wish I could have went to Best in the Yard 1. WrestleCon, I obviously couldn't go to that. That's in Pennsylvania, and BTW is here that weekend, and also, but definitely WrestleCon was definitely the best show in backyard wrestling ever. That's the best show I've ever watched because They worked. They acted like it was their final match, the final time they would ever wrestle. I've never seen Big Time Mike just stop. I've never seen it. And when I saw Big Time Mike and Rios get caught off, I sat there and I thought, and I was marking it just because of that. I was like, Big Time Mike gave up.
Yeah.
And I sat there and said, wow. That's crazy. I just sat there and thought, wow. So, that so much respect for every single one of those guys, especially the tables match.
That was brutal when Dirty DeChico went through the ladder. I was like, holy shit.
and the table. I didn't think he was going through the table. I was like, this is too dangerous. They're definitely not. And then he went through him. I was like, dude, wow. And that, you don't know how much I was marking out during that match. So many mark out moments. Wow.
I do
Wow.
have. Who is your like favorite backyard wrestler just out of any company?
Can you say that again?
He said,
What'd you say?
favorite backyard wrestler out of any company. Like, probably not counting
Any
the
company. Oh man, you laid that one on me. I gotta say Drew Hood. I mean, every time Drew Hood's in a match, I'm excited. So that's honestly, my favorite backyard wrestler to watch is just Drew Hood. Simple as that. Because definitely when Cameron Jackson comes on, I'm excited. But when Drew Hood comes on, I'm really excited because I know he's going to try to pull out a bunch of stuff. So that's just the one wrestler I really love to watch, and really am excited to hopefully work with him in the future.
For sure, that'd be a great match. Now, we were talking about tables and ladders earlier. Now, as you get into this as a fan and a wrestler, what do you prefer? Hardcore, like a hardcore match, or just a straight up technical, just back and forth?
I like to watch both. Not too much of both. Not too much. But if I had to pick one, I'd say the technical. Because too much hardcore makes the product look, just not wrestling. It just looks like there's two guys trying to beat each other with things.
Yeah.
That's not wrestling really.
Yeah,
But if you incorporate both, then I'm fine. If you incorporate wrestling into it and, you throw a little bit of hardcore like they did in the tables match last night. They went hardcore and they threw some wrestling stuff in there. Threw a lot of wrestling stuff. It was crazy. I enjoyed it. And, definitely, that's just my opinion. So I'd just say a little bit of both.
That's what I would say. Like, because in my opinion, when it's too much hardcore wrestling, that leaves for way too much. Like, it more looks like a spot fest in a wrestling match. And then when it's a bit too technical, then it can be boring when it's just kind of like arm walks back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But Chase, since you kind of disappeared for a while, do you have any questions for Seth? Okay, so Seth, like a Survivor Series tag team match, if you had to pick 5 opponents and 4 teammates, who would you pick for your opponents and your teammates?
5 opponents and 4 teammates. All right. My teammates, JHI. Hands down, JHI. 4 guys right there, and Seth Maverick. It'd be Doomsday, most definitely. It'd be Doomsday right there. So, Seth Maverick and JHI. Opponents, I'm sorry, Porkster, but PorkChop. Gonna have to lay it down there. I'm actually gonna throw you in there, Jackson Hendrix. Just because I like your style and I wanna see what can happen in that match. Why not? I'll throw Chase Chambers in there as well. And one more guy, I'll throw Drew Hood in there. I'd face him too. And one more. Everett Creed. I want to see. I want to see what happened with all that madness in the ring.
That'd be an interesting team. That'd be an interesting team. Your opponents. Let's see if any of them can get along.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, it would. Now, not to make you completely break kayfabe here, but like when it comes in terms of playing your character, would you rather play a heel or would you rather play a babyface?
Can you repeat the question?
I said
Right.
not to completely make you break kayfabe, but in terms of playing your character, would you rather play a heel or a babyface?
I love playing heel, and that's that's the only character, that's the only type I enjoy playing. Babyface, I feel like it's too much work, and you have to find the right chemical reaction to the fans and you, or else it's not going to click.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't find that, it's garbage. Pretty much the Roman Reigns theory. And if you're a heel, all you got to do is hate, and bam, you're over. I mean, it's not hard.
And
But
we're really in a generation of wrestling where it's ass backwards and heels are loved and baby faces are hated.
Yeah.
that's the problem. That's the problem. Because heels these days, they want to get along with the fans by hating their opponent. And that's the problem. If you're like Chris Jericho, where you just absolutely despise the fans, you don't want anything to do with them, you're just there to get your point across. That's the type of heel you need to be. And I respect Chris Jericho for that. And obviously, you look at people and when you see Chris Jericho trashing AJ Styles, definitely one of the biggest names in WWE right now, you're obviously going to hate Chris Jericho. And if you see me going around trashing PorkChop, where everybody freaking loves PorkChop right now, then you're obviously not going to like me. So it works in a way. And PorkChop originally started out as a heel, but we had to turn him face
Yeah.
because of the reaction he got. It was just too much.
Yeah, and I feel like fans nowadays, the reason why it's so hard to get over, even as a face too, is like because they really look off your wrestling, and this can happen with the heel too. Like if you're a really great worker in the ring and you have a really acrobatic style that fans tend to like draw to, it's almost like Seth Rollins. Like you're supposed to hate him, but you love him because of his in-ring work. And I feel like whereas wrestling back in the day, they would pretty much hate you strictly off character, but now they look more into your in-ring ability a lot more.
Yeah, that's one thing. And some people do that to me, like Kid Rick. He absolutely loves me just because of the way I wrestle, and he calls me the GOAT. Which, even though I honestly don't even think that's near. You know, I'm nowhere near the greatest of all time. Nowhere near that. But he calls me that. It makes me feel good and keeps me wanting to go out there. But it helped me more if you hate me. But there's nothing I can do about. I can't wrestle bad. It's just not. So I mean, it's not my fault technically. And people say I play my character really well. I'm just the guy who goes out there and gets his point across, and I don't care what you do or what you say. I'm gonna hurt you. And look, I slap black paint in the face. Okay, I slap black paint in the face. Who's got the guts to do that? Not many guys in back of wrestling. So.
Well, we were talking about faces and heels getting over, and you personally, what is your opinion? Like, what do you think a babyface needs to get over with fans nowadays, whether it's pro wrestling or BYW?
Obviously, they have to wrestle good, or else people are not going to like them, like Eva Marie. That's just one thing. You obviously have to wrestle good, and if you screw up, you're done. Like Eva Marie, she screwed up in the beginning. She's done. There's no way of getting her back unless somehow she pulls off the most electrifying move in all of wrestling and does like a moonsault off of the Titantron, something like that. So you definitely have to wrestle good. You got to have good mic skills. You have to interact with the fans a lot, because if you don't interact with the fans a lot, obviously people aren't going to care for you. So if you're a babyface, you have to get involved with the fans a lot. And PorkChop does that. PorkChop talks to a lot of people, around back at wrestling. So, he gets involved a lot. And you just gotta get that right immersion with the fans, or else you're not going to be anything really.
And I feel like nowadays, and this is for any advice since I kind of play a baby face on screen, for any advice, if you're struggling to get over as a babyface, I suggest playing instead of more of a full-blown babyface. Fans typically like to gravitate towards the anti-hero nowadays, like the generation of anti-heroes. So that'd be my advice to you.
Guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but Chase Chambers.
All right.
All right. Mom came in.
Oh, you're good. I was just saying, I was like, any advice for fans that need to get over as a face? I suggest playing more of an anti-hero because that's kind of what fans more gravitate towards nowadays. Instead of the 80s and even currently in the last 10, 15 years, like a Cena or a Hogan character, more like an Austin.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think this is a tough task? Like, I bet this is a tough question to answer. Do you think if you had to play a face, do you think you would get over it?
Would I be able to get over?
Yeah.
I played a face at one point, and I got over for quite a big while. And then some stuff came up, and pretty much I trickled down, and I didn't get interacted as much. And I was sitting there like, wow, I wasted that. And so I was like, nobody really cares about me right now. I'm back in wrestling. I gotta turn heel. That was the only thing I could do, and it worked. And I did it in the most quote-unquote savage way I think possible by creating this mastermind, Steel Rick, and causing PorkChop to go through his own hell and just breaking him apart. And if you watched Extravaganza number 2, main event was Steel Rick versus PorkChop. Steel Rick, if he won, he got to PorkChop had to something. I can't remember. I'm not prepared for this podcast. There was some stipulation. I can't remember. I think PorkChop had to retire or something. But if Steel Rick won, BWE was over. If Steel Rick won. That was it. Steel Rick won, BWE was over. And PorkChop won, Steel Rick retired. And everybody thought, oh yeah, Steel Rick's definitely going to lose, you know. And Steel Rick won. And everybody thought BWE was over until I was unmasked as Steel Rick. And everybody completely marked out. And that's where I got my reaction back as a heel. So, yeah. I could get over it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, this is nothing towards the fans, but like, I'm kind of forced to play face because like I'm gonna completely break kayfabe. Chase wanted to play heel, and it needed to happen. And Andrew King Crunch cannot talk to save his life, and he can't cut a promo. So that's the end of that. I mean, I'd like to be a heel someday.
My favorite line from PorkChop is when he goes out there and says, "Yep, I did it again. I let you fans down." Every single time he says that, I laugh because he's only won one match this year. So to get to hear that about 5 times this year is amazing. I did it again. I let you fans down. But next time, PorkChop's going to win. Next time, same thing again. It's just funny. So it's just funny to hear that.
Now, do you ever fear of losing your BWE championship to PorkChop?
Oh, no.
Or are you pretty confident in your abilities to beat PorkChop?
PorkChop is absolutely nothing compared to Seth Maverick. He got me once, and that was only because he hurt my knee in a match against him. And I beat him. If I'm 100%, I can beat him any day, so I'm fine. I don't need to worry about PorkChop. He's just another target that's going to fail, like Star X, Black Pain, Joey Jose, and PorkChop in one match. And just, Tower Storm, just those guys. They're all going to come. My thing.
Everyone follow Seth Maverick. And like I've stated on Twitter, and if you haven't seen, follow at the Seth Maverick and at WTW Hendrix and at WTW Chase on Twitter. And if you haven't seen, Seth Maverick is undefeated in 2016, but then I also stated the fact that he never went one-on-one with Jackson Hendrix in 2016, and that could be the reason why he's undefeated.
Hey, who says Chase Chambers going to take him?
You don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance against Seth Maverick, and that's just the truth.
Now, comment or like if you would ever like to see Seth Maverick face a WTW wrestler such as me or Chase. Now, Seth, I'm drawing a blank. Chase, do you have any questions?
Not really. I'm
Oh, okay. Seth, now, is there any really, like, now that, not really, like, looking back on the past, because since BWB only has you and PorkChop, was there any, like, really lazy wrestlers, not to throw anyone under the bus, but was there any really lazy wrestlers that never wanted to do anything for BWE?
If PorkChop was here right now, me and him will scream the same exact name, Rico Reed. Lord have mercy. That kid, if we got him over here, he'd be like, I don't want to wrestle. Another guy, Austin Styles, holy crap. If we tried to film, I don't want to film today. And it was as simple as that. And it made me mad. Eventually, we let them go.
Yeah.
We just say, you know what, you don't want to be this, you don't want to be part of this, oh well. So.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, because we have people do it where, like, Andrew will be like, yeah, I'll do that, like, when I want, but then he never does it. Or like, some people was like, yeah, I got like Trevor and Chris are like, yeah, I got baseball practice. I can't show up. I'm like, are you serious? Like, just come over afterwards.
Yeah, it's just really difficult because sometimes it seems like we're just going to take a minute out of their day and put a little bit of effort into it.
Now, so when we were talking about the troubles of getting over earlier, what do you think? Now, where did you get like inspirations from your character that you play currently? Like, was there any inspirations in creating the Seth Maverick heel character?
I mean, there's really not an inspiration. I just have a character who goes out there and does. He really doesn't. He acts like he doesn't care. Yet I really do, obviously, care a lot about backyard wrestling. But he goes out there and he acts like he doesn't care. He doesn't care what's in his way. He will do anything. He doesn't care. He fought Jay Jose and PorkChop in a triple threat match for his championship, may I add. And he made the match himself. He doesn't care what you do because he is self-confident. And that's, I mean, there's really no inspiration behind the character. I just go out there and say, I'll beat you. And I've done that 5 times this year, and nobody's able to conquer the spectacular one. Oh gosh, I should not have used that. that was a long age ago when I used that. I have a shirt that says Seth Maverick, the spectacular one. That was used about a year ago, and I'll never use it again. Ever.
Wait, did you say you have a shirt that says Seth Maverick is Seth-tacular?
Yes.
I think you said Seth-tacular the other day.
Yeah, that used to be my catchphrase.
I've got one.
and I never use it anymore.
Chase has a question for you.
I got one question. What is your opinion on, say, WTW had like Divas matches?
So basically, women's wrestling in backyard, women wrestling in backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. I'd actually dig it because nobody really does it. And obviously because, wrestling doesn't apply to the female gender, obviously, because it's violence, pretty much. But if that could happen, I would dig that, totally. I'd love to see some girls wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
I remember some people that asked me, well, will you ever get girls to wrestle? I'm like, the problem is actually getting girls to wrestle. It's hard enough to get guys to wrestle, let alone girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's take a little different topic of discussion here. Let's go to more of the pro wrestling aspect. Who are your current favorite top 5 wrestlers? It can be WWE, it can be Indies, it can be from any company. It can be past, present, or current. Well, I guess that is present. So yeah, it can be current or past.
Favorite AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Kofi Kingston, and I really don't have a fifth one, to be honest. Say Dolph Ziggler. The reason is I like their style, and people say they don't like this new style, but I dig it. Obviously, I love the old style of wrestling. That's the original way, obviously. But I like watching those stunts and those high flying skills, and obviously, some people may not agree, but I feel like they try to do that, and it's not. I don't think it's overused. It's starting to become overused a little bit, but I mean, NXT is just that place, and it's sort of like an indie company now. If you think about it, NXT is just sort of like an indie company, and it's cool. So. Mainly I like NXT guys a lot. So Kofi Kingston has always been my favorite wrestler. I have an autograph on my wall, but it fell down. So
It's so crazy to think that the main roster in WWE and NXT's connected, because they're so different. They have such different feels to them. Even when you're just watching the shows, they feel so different. Like you said, NXT more feels like an indie company instead of how the main roster feels, because in my opinion, I think WWE's gotten really repetitive. But I want you to evaluate on their kind of troubles. Actually, I want you to evaluate what you think of WrestleMania 32 this year.
It was all right. Some of the matches came out pretty good. I like Zack Ryder winning the championship. I feel like he long deserved that, his WrestleMania moment finally, because he's worked so hard for that. I agree with Chris Jericho beating AJ Styles. I like that decision because Chris Jericho, if he lost that, his character would have committed completely the dumbest thing I've seen in my life. Because you go out there acting like you're the best thing, you're the best in the world, as he says, and then you lose, it would be stupid. So I completely 100% agree with Chris Jericho winning. And the League of Nations winning, I didn't really care about that match at all, stuff like that. And obviously the main event, everybody knew it was going to happen. Everybody hated that it was going to happen. So, I mean, it was all right. I give it about a 7. I mean, the action was good. Some of the outcomes weren't good. And, some of the matches were just thrown in there. They had completely no build. One match that I was really excited for and I was let down a lot by is Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
I was expecting more.
I personally was wanting to see a lot of blood in that match.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to be a really good match because Dean Ambrose is the lunatic. Think about that. He's the lunatic. He goes crazy and he takes a bunch of pain and stuff, and he just got destroyed. And I thought it was terrible the way they did that. Even though Brock Lesnar's the beast, I think Dean Ambrose should at least had sort of a chance in that match, at least just a little bit.
Yeah, and I didn't really like the way they because it was 13 minutes, and it was pretty much just a typical no disqualification match nowadays, because all they used was chairs and kendo sticks, and that's pretty much what WWE does when they say extreme.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me at all, that match. I thought that was going to be match of the night. I was like, Dean Ambrose is going to pull off some crazy things tonight. He pulled off, a few cool things, but nothing really different. And it didn't feel like a WrestleMania match. It just felt like a normal match, for the highest I put it as a Raw, maybe Raw main event.
Yeah.
That'd be that one. So.
And everybody wants to make Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker match of the night, but in my opinion, I don't really think Shane McMahon and The Undertaker was all that great of a match. I think the only thing that really made it was Shane going off the cell. Other than that, it was it was all right, but it definitely for sure wasn't great. It's going to be remembered for that spot. The match itself, I don't think will be remembered all that much.
I actually enjoyed the match a little bit just because Shane McMahon took a lot in that match. Shane McMahon took so much. He took a choke slam on steel steps. And he did that crazy spot. He took a last ride. He took a lot in that match, and I got to give him respect. I mean, I didn't think there was really anything wrong with the wrestling part of the match. I thought it was, some pretty good wrestling, stuff like that. I still think Shane McMahon's got it. I think he can wrestle a few more matches. I think he can wrestle a few more matches, but obviously now he might be reconsidering that.
Yeah.
But, I thought the match was pretty good though, but the outcome, I have to agree with the outcome. If Undertaker lost that match, it would have looked very stupid.
Yeah.
Because Shane McMahon, he hasn't wrestled in a very long time, and he just comes back and beats the Undertaker at WrestleMania. It wouldn't have made sense. So I have to go with that decision. Undertaker winning. I think Undertaker winning was the right decision because of his only one loss at WrestleMania, which is still something. Like, people completely forgot about that. People completely forgot, but that's still an incredible record. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Don't let it go away.
I never really agreed with, like, Lesnar beating the streak, but, like, that was just kind of my opinion. And I really think it took away from the mystique of The Undertaker afterwards.
If anything, my honest opinion, Triple H should have broke the streak. The second match, they faced off him. And that's only if the streak had to be broken. I wouldn't have broke the streak at all. I would have said, you know what, Undertaker needs to retire with the streak. I think that's what should have happened.
I think so too. Like, and plus, like, I don't really get the feud afterwards. After when he returned, like, you would think that if they wanted to do a rematch between Undertaker and Brock, he would have returned to face him at WrestleMania 30.
Oh, you don't know the story behind that?
Yeah.
You don't know the story behind that? What is it, like, there's been at least, like, 5 or 6 matches where at Undertaker, or, at WrestleMania, not at Undertaker, at WrestleMania, the match would be redone a year the next SummerSlam year. The next SummerSlam year. I think one of them, it was Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart or something like that. It was at WrestleMania, and the year after at SummerSlam, they did it again. That's just been a tradition they've done for some reason. So, I mean, I guess it still continues.
Speaking of, like, WrestleMania and SummerSlam, from not just not in backyard wrestling, but, like, from a whole standpoint, like, as our WrestleMania and SummerSlam is, like, best in the yard and WrestleCon now. In your opinion, what do you think everyone involved in Best in the Yard 2 has to do to top WrestleCon this year?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. Because WrestleCon, they were dying for that. They were dying for it. Big Time Mike bled like there was no tomorrow, and that was real blood, And I don't know. I just don't know, because WrestleCon, that was awesome. That was just amazing. I don't know.
For sure. I need to go back and finish it because I watched Drew Hood, Thomas Gray, Dirty DeChico. I watched Zach Daniels versus TJ Sakara. I watched like the first 4 or 5 matches, but then I think after Corey Graves is when I had to stop.
Yeah.
Because I had to go to that podcast with him. All right, see you, Chase. His phone was about to die, so we had to go. That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, Best in the Yard 2 is going to have a tough time topping WrestleCon.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I didn't think WrestleCon was going to be that huge until I watched, and I was like, whoa.
I was excited. Like, don't get me wrong. I was excited, but like I was like, it's WrestleCon. I mean, it's gonna be good. But then, like, when it was actually like really, really good. Like when I got to watch it. Now, what do you think of the Best in the Yard 2 matches? I'm not gonna spoil anything else. But what do you think of the Best in the Yard 2 matches that have been announced so far? Ecstatic versus Ellis Taylor. Drew Hood versus Cameron Jackson. I think it was
Possibly Tyler Storm versus Jason Walker. Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. I know Tyler's looking for a match with him.
I'm digging. I love him right now. I'm definitely excited. I hope I can see it live because I would kill for that. I would definitely kill for that. So yeah, I really want to see these. I really want to see them. I'm excited for it.
Do you have any predictions on Ecstatic, Ellis Taylor, Drew Hood, Cameron Jackson, and Tyler Storm and Jason Walker if it happens?
I can't give any predictions yet because I have to see more build up to give my prediction. Just for the simple, I could probably get Ecstatic and Ellis Taylor now. Cameron Jackson and Drew Hood, I'll have to wait a little bit because I just don't know who's going to win that honestly yet. I don't know. I think Ellis Taylor will beat Ecstatic just by the way it's set up right now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Cameron Jackson and Drew Hood, I don't know yet.
When Ecstatic made that standards video and he cut the promo, I was like, yeah, I think Ellis Taylor is going to go over.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to go to Best in the Yard too. Unfortunately, I was not invited this year, but hopefully if there's Best in the Yard 3, I can go. Hopefully the same for you. If you were invited to Best in the Yard 2, I hope to see you in action. But
I got an invitation of a bowl. I got an invitation last year. I don't know where it's at. I think it's my messages from Tyler, but I got my invitation and it has a picture of a bowl on it, which I think is hysterical. So.
Now, were you supposed to have I know you earlier you said you were supposed to go to Best in the Yard 1. Now, can you say if you were supposed to have a match, and if you were, can you say who your opponent was supposed to be?
At Best in the Yard 1?
Yeah, if you were supposed to go.
Well, I didn't have an opponent set because I already knew off the bat. I was like, yeah, I can't go. So I didn't have an opponent set. But yeah, if I did go, you're asking me who I would have faced, who I would have wanted to.
Yeah.
I would have probably liked to face Zach Daniels because he had his little trouble with TJ Sakara and all. So I would have liked to face him, most definitely. I would like that.
Now, if you go to Best in the Yard 2, do you have your sights set on anyone in particular?
Yep. Not allowed to say. Oh man, and my match card photo just came up. I'm not allowed to discuss that yet. By rules of
Hopefully we can find out in the future. I said hopefully we'll find out more in the near future.
Oh yeah, totally. It's gonna be a pretty cool. It's gonna be a pretty cool thing going on. You're gonna be confused a little bit, I think. So.
For sure. Now, so have you? I know BWE, like I've said many times, the roster's thin, but so have you and PorkChop ever considered playing more than one characters, like under masks, and like add more people to the roster, or?
I heard the last part about masks and adding more people to the roster.
Have you and PorkChop ever considered playing multiple characters since the roster's thin right now?
I have so many characters. I have so many characters. It's crazy. Way too many characters. And PorkChop has a few, or just one side character. So, but the reason we just don't want to, continue is because only two guys. Who wants to watch the same two guys wrestle every single week? Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. Thank you. I got a salad. Yeah, I just don't, I don't want to incorporate, the same two guys in the same, thing every week. But we are setting up some things. BWE is obviously ending, but we are planning some entertaining things. And they're matches, they're wrestling matches, yet it's not BWE because there's no storylines. It's like a storyline at a time, if you will. It's one storyline at a time. So it's just pretty much wrestling.
Yeah.
But we don't want to call it BWE, even though it sort of is, but we don't want to because it's just not a company. It's just, a few matches, and you have a storyline incorporated. Like right now, me and PorkChop, one storyline. You don't see any others going on right now. So it's a confusing way, but we're definitely not done with backyard wrestling at all. Nowhere near it.
Yeah, and the two characters, like, I'm not really going to come out and say much because I don't really want to spoil anything. But playing two characters is awfully weird, that's for sure. Because you're trying to get invested into what one character is doing. Like, because typically the person that plays two characters, they have their primary character and then they have the other one that's not really as a major role. So like, it's kind of odd. So I mean, I can understand why you two wouldn't want to play multiple characters too. Because like I said, it's hard to get what the main character's doing and what the minor character's doing too.
Yeah, I play with 5 characters. It's crazy.
It's definitely be able to play many characters. I said it definitely takes talent to play many characters too.
Oh yeah. I can barely get their movesets now, and it's hard to remember their movesets. It's like I have this one character named Vices, and I'll be like, is this move for Seth Maverick or Vices? I can't remember, and I'll just hit it anyways. I'll look back and it's like, yep, that was Seth Maverick's move. Just completely broke kayfabe on that move.
That mistake has been making with. I'm not going to state if or what people play multiple characters in WTW, but we've made that mistake too, like forgetting which of your characters does a certain move, and then you just end up doing it as both.
Yeah, it's an easy mistake to make.
And it's hard to jump back and it's hard to wrestle a completely different style too.
Yeah.
That one style. Yeah. And when you're wrestling as another character, you have to change it. Yeah, and then you have to change styles. So we talked about Best in the Yard, WrestleCon, WrestleMania. Is there anything you would like to say about any upcoming events for you, or anything?
Well, me and PorkChop, the third and final matchup between the two of us is coming soon. Tune into that. It's tied up at 1-1 right now, and PorkChop has chosen the street fight stipulation for the final match of our rivalry. So it'll be coming up here in the next few weeks. When my hamstring gets to feeling better and we get a cameraman, I'd say it'd be in the next 2 weeks. So it'd be uploaded. So definitely excited for it.
We're going to run out of topics here. I just want to say thank you for joining us here on the second edition of the WTW podcast. It was an honor to have you. Subscribe to BWE Wrestling or BWE Backyard Wrestling Evolution, I think it is, on YouTube. Follow at the Seth Maverick on Twitter. Follow at Pork_Chop98. And I'll do some WTW stuff now. WTW Mania, April 30th, 2016. Main event, King Crunch, Chase Chambers, Jackson Hendrix. Follow every WTW wrestler on Twitter. And I think that about does it. Well, thanks for joining us, Seth. I think we're going to get on out of here.
Sweet.
All right, see you.
Thank you for having me.